I'd like to welcome everyone to today's edition of the Software Spotlight. And joining us from Algomo, we have Dimitrios, and I'd like to welcome you aboard. He's the COO of Algomo, and as we've seen, the solution has actually been growing at a pretty quick clip, and a lot of our listeners have been following along and watching the journey. And this is a great opportunity to give everyone a inside peek at what's going on. So I was hoping you could fill us in and give us a little bit of the backstory.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here today. First of all, I think for your listeners might be worth just giving a bit of a background what Algomo does. Algomo is a customer service AI platform. So our product can be installed on any website, and customers can use a chat function to talk to the AI in 100 languages or more. So the AI can answer questions, it can escalate to humans for complex issues. And now I'm actually quite excited here, to announce that for the first time globally, I would say, and in collaboration with some of the world's leading universities and one of the UK largest banks, we're launching something that goes beyond chatbots, which is AI agents specifically for customer service. And these AI agents can autonomously take decisions, can use online tools for extra help, and can solve problems like humans could do. So,
Wow.
happy to answer any more questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it sounds like the AI agents are actually additional components of the Algamo solution that can be launched individually, or are there certain specific agents for different applications, or what? How does it all come together?
Yeah, so at the moment, you can think of agents as additional tools that can be used in the context of a chatbot. And we've launched AI agents now for specific use cases like e-commerce. So, for example, if you have a Shopify store, you can connect these agents, which then they connect to your Shopify store, and they can pull data from the store, and then they can do a number of things. They can, for example, find relevant products. They can check product availability. They can check the status of an order. So if a customer asks, has my order been delivered now? Has it been dispatched? We are working on more sort of like generic solution where these AI agents can tackle any other sort of like tool and any API. What I want to emphasize as well here is that with the ChatGPT and large language models, basically, which ChatGPT is, they've showcased exceptional capabilities in natural language conversations. But the differentiation here between AI agents and models like large language models like ChatGPT is instead of just taking text input and then producing text output. For example, you ask a question and the language model responds with static information from a knowledge base, right? So this is quite different where an AI agent, this is goes as a step ahead, right? So not only takes text as input, but interacts with various modules such as memory. It can call specialized LLMs, other large language models, or it can utilize functions like tools, APIs. So you can think of this as integrating human judgment, basically, into the tool, where it can strategize and execute solutions like any other human would do.
So it really sounds like the next step in an AI chatbot in terms of being able to work obviously with the large data sets that it has, but to be able to interact with live data that may be relevant or meaningful to the individual on the other end of the conversation. So, for example, a customer that just ordered a pair of shoes on a shoe website may be able to check in and figure out the status or the tracking information, or we're a a particular order is at. So that really sounds like the next step in the evolution of AI chatbots.
Yeah, absolutely. I think not many people these days have heard of AI agents, but similarly to, chatbots, ChatGPT, and so on, there's going to be a term that is going to become more and more popular. And I think we already see that if you go to Google Trends, for example, put AI agents, you're going to see this going up. I think in a few months, maybe, I don't know, more than a year or so, but I think this is going to become more popular.
So do you envision other types of agents that will launch in the future, where this is kind of like a first step to breaking the technology out to actual live users?
Yes, I think AI agents will have um, they will have a use case in many different aspects, from automating certain part of your job to finding solutions to problems in the everyday life of humans. In our case, in Algomo, we are focusing specifically on customer service, and we have started with e-commerce as a specific use case for AI agents. We're also now tackling tourism and travel. So, for example, if you want to check availability for a room in a certain location, again, this is something AI agents could handle, because this goes back to calling a specific tool to get live availability for hotels. But then and then again, it moves even beyond tourism and travel and e-commerce. You can have any application across all customer service sort of like jobs, where um, an agent will need to do something, will need to call a tool and help the customer.
Got it. So it's really a very new front end for that data that may not have, or may have only been available through an agent in the past.
Exactly. Yes.
Neat. And I can absolutely see that market that you're talking about with travel, because obviously bookings and reservations and times and deadlines and availability are all important factors in choosing a choosing to book or not book a specific vacation. So it has a huge impact, and obviously, as we've seen in the past, the volume of seasonally adjusted volume for some of these industries can be huge, and being able to staff up for seasonal influxes may not become a reality. I think I was just listening to the news this morning. Southwest Airlines finished $140 million lawsuit that they were just settling for all of the debacles that they had over the holidays last year. So I think you know there's a perfect example. Had they had a solution like this in place, obviously they would have been able to handle the volume of customer care and rerouting and things like that. So interesting. It was a real life solution in
Absolutely.
the news today. Yeah. Now,
I
can
think
you
that's a great solution. In fact, yeah, that's one of the best examples that we have for use cases where it doesn't make sense for you to hire seasonal another 10 or 100 customer service agents, and you want to handle the spike in the volume of queries that you get.
right now? The other thing that I'm wondering, it sounds like this would really clear the plate for you know things that can be automated to really free people up to work on higher level jobs and tasks. So that sounds really great. Um, can you give us a little bit of an idea of your approach to AI and customer service, and how you feel it kind of differentiates the solution from some of the other approaches that are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we see Algomo as a tool for humans to use, right? A tool that can amplify capabilities for people. And this, if you think our name, for example, Our name it comes from the words algorithm and homo, where it means human, basically, right, in Latin. So we chose that name based on the fact, again, that we want to see a human-centered sort of like AI, and inclusive AI, where so our sort of like vision is that if we automate all these sort of like more boring processes, then humans will have only sort of like they will have more exciting stuff to do, right? And
Sure.
that's why when sort of like we approach customers, and our customers, they use us not to cut cost, but they use it to increase quality of customer satisfaction, just because they can get faster responses, for example, or because their agents can do a better job, right? They have more time to respond to better. They have more time to respond in a better way to queries.
Got it. Got it. No, it makes a lot of sense. Now, are there certain technologies, obviously natural language processing and you know self-learning and all of that are um, basically coming to light in terms of AI and chatbots that are a little different than what's been out there, or has the technology just really come into its own at this point? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think it's large language models. It's probably, it has transformed the whole field, and the best example of this is ChatGPT. The first example, then everybody else also followed. Um, so I think predominantly this is sort of like what have changed, and what will also have more potential to change the industry with GPT potentially 5 coming into play, and so on.
Got it, got it. And can you give us an example of a real world customer use of the solution, and maybe quantify some of the benefits, how they're seeing the solution play out?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our customers, so they're called Nina Care. They're a platform where parents, au pairs, and babysitters can find their pet's perfect match. And they have an app basically where they can match make everyone, and in a way that is sort of like, lots of fun. They make it super easy because this can be across many different countries as well. So someone like an au pair, for example, that could be based in a different country than the country they're trying to find parents. And so Nina Care, they had explosive growth. They've done tremendously well. And they had, with their huge growth, they had a huge volume of customer service inquiries, basically, right?
Sure.
And many of these inquiries, they were sort of like inquiries that our chatbot could help. And so one example I can give you is that we managed to automate up to 80% of these inquiries that they receive.
Sure.
And this has been tremendous for them, because when you are at this kind of like, when you're a scale up, like they are, and you have this kind of growth, you cannot hire fast enough, right? You cannot
Right.
hire fast enough customer service team, and you cannot handle all these queries. So probably, this is one of the best examples. In general, customers that do use our product, not only they reduce their customer service queries, but also we see that they have an improvement in their customer satisfaction, an improvement in their NPS scores. And we've observed
Okay.
up to 20% in customer satisfaction when people use the bot, because then customer service agents, they have more time to spend for complex queries. And also they can respond faster, which is time to resolution is something that is very, very important for many customers.
Got it. So, is there some sort of a capability yet, or on the drawing board, in terms of a warm handoff to a live agent? Is that something that's planned, or?
Yeah, exactly. So this is one of our features in our product. So
Oh, it is. Okay.
we can do human handoff, and the AI can automatically recognize if this feature is enabled, that the customer needs support. And also certain conditions can be sort of like implemented as a filter. So maybe you only want to escalate to human support when this is a sales question, for example, or when a customer is asking for a quote. So maybe that's something you don't want to leave to the AI to do. So the
Sure.
AI will automatically recognize this is a request for a quote and then escalate to human, and then agents will receive a notification on an email or on their wherever they connected Algomo to.
Got it. And as far as being able to manage the solution in terms of reporting and in terms of data and analysis and being able to figure out where things are working and need to be tweaked, is there such a mechanism built into the solution?
So at the moment, we're actually building a comprehensive analytics dashboard. At the moment, if someone wanted to sort of like tweak a little bit and make some improvements, probably the best way is for them to speak to us.
Okay.
And there is this sort of like, onboarding process where someone from our team will help the customer integrate the product in the best way possible. We have seen that while it can be installed very easily, so you can install it in even under 5 minutes, Algomo, and start using it and providing value. Then there is some time where the more sort of like you use it and the more you improve it, it can become better and better. So it could take potentially, a few days or a few weeks to reach the maximum sort of, performance that you can get.
Okay. So it's really obviously like any new process, obviously taking the time to set things up at the outset, but then refining along the way.
Exactly. Yes.
Makes a lot of sense. And how does the solution scale in terms of, let's say, a company starts out with one area and then they add in other areas and we're receiving more and more traffic and requests and things like that. Have you seen different size installations on the platform?
Yes, in fact, we have some companies that they are a parent company of many other companies. So it could be, for example, they have a hotel group, they installed it, they saw value, then they moved to their sort of like tour agent operator that they have. So we've seen these cases where, yeah, there's a parent company, then there's subsidiaries where they start implementing across different websites.
Got it. And are there a certain number of sessions or uses that you've seen that might be interesting in terms of how well the solution scales from a implementation standpoint?
I think it varies from customer to customer. Typically, the more data that you have, the better the bot can respond to
Okay.
um, any of the customer queries. Because obviously, if you don't have any data, then there isn't anything to draw any information from.
Right.
Yeah. Having said that, you can also start without having much data, perhaps with your sort of like, customer service agents using the solution. And then as they provide responses, then you can adopt many of these responses as part of your data set.
Got it. So it can actually learn along the way to
Precisely, yes.
yeah, that's really neat. As far as implementing the solution, maybe could you give us a little bit of an overview of the actual interface so we can see how the solution looks and a company that may be considering getting up and running, what it would look like from the front or back end or both?
Yeah, if it helps, just gonna share my screen and just
Sure, that would be
show.
great.
Right. So hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yeah, no, that's
And
perfect.
cool. Right. So what we can see here, it's various chatbots. So I want to do an example here with some sort of like a tourism sort of like use case and one with an e-commerce shop. So we have this sort of like chatbots. We have also our data sources. So data sources is where you can, connect all your data. Data can come in the form of a website, for example, where we can use search engine results, or we can scrape your website. You can also upload your own documents, PDF, for example, and so on. We have some app integrations like Notion. Some companies we see use Notion as an internal sort of like information management system. And it's something called intents. So intents, it's you can think of them as questions and answers where they can be used as a way to sort of give a guidance for the bot how to respond and what to respond, some model answers. And then after that, you can create multiple chatbots. Every chatbot can have its own data sources. You can also connect what we call tools. This goes back to the dynamic information I was telling you about. So you can be pulling hotel information, for example, dynamic hotel information, such as availability, prices, and so on. And then you can customize the chatbot. You can give it certain personalities. So at the moment, we have 3 personalities you can choose from, like friendly, balanced, and formal. And then there is the escalation behavior. So this is when the conditions where you set to escalate that require human assistance. And sometimes you can even set it to escalate whenever the bot cannot find any answers. So automatically. Mm-hmm.
So in terms of connecting to data sources, would that be through different APIs and the like, or how would you bring in live data?
That's right, yeah. So this connects through various APIs. So for e-commerce, for example, is Shopify, although we plan to bring additional e-commerce platforms to connect to.
Sure.
And then for travel, online travel agents for availability and so on. Ultimately, we are planning a solution to make tools completely agnostic in terms of what tool they are. And then the AI will still be able to connect to the API without having seen that before. But that's something more for over the next few weeks
Sure.
that we're planning to launch.
And that's exciting. I mean, in other parts of the internet, we see weeks and months and years, but I think in AI, it's moving so quickly that a lot of these innovations are coming weekly.
Yeah, absolutely. It is moving incredibly fast, actually. And then after you created the chatbot, you can connect to what we call a widget. A widget is the user interface where users can interact. Your customers can interact with the with the AI or your
Okay, so
customer
this is what
service
they would
team.
see on the front end. Got you.
That's right, yes. And you can customize here. You can put your own colors. You can put the avatars and faces of your team if you want to make it more personalized. In fact, we had cases where a customer would put the faces of someone from the customer service team without saying this is an AI bot, and some customers don't realize and start doing
Yeah.
small talk, and they
Oh,
and
too
the
funny.
conversation flows very, very natural. So
And
yeah.
do you find that are people so this is not like the old-fashioned chatbot where it was, just a very mechanical type of conversation. These are really in-depth conversations that are very human-like, it sounds like.
Yeah, precisely. In fact, this is one of the key differentiating factors from many other solutions out there, which I'm sure everybody has seen. Now there are so many, maybe hundreds of different chatbots and so on. For us, it's quite conversational. Also, it has memory. So, if you want to test if a chatbot is good, ask, "Do you remember what my previous question was?" and see
Yeah.
if it responds, oh yes, this was your previous question. If it doesn't, normally it means they have something very simple. It might not even be AI, there. So for us, it's fully conversational. It does sort of like many people do think it's not AI. They think they're speaking with a human. It's
Right.
up to you how you want to implement it. Some customers want to make it super clear, you're speaking with AI. Some
Yeah.
customers that leave it a little bit more ambiguous. So it
Got it.
varies there.
Got it. And if a company does indicate that it's AI, are customers usually comfortable communicating with AI, or is there some sort of resistance or hesitance from what you've seen?
Yeah, so, surprisingly, we see the customers are quite comfortable these days speaking with AI, and especially the younger they are, the more comfortable they are speaking with AI and speaking with the bot. I think the reason that sometimes people are frustrated because they interacted previously with some chatbots that they were not really AI there, right? They were very
Right.
sort of like algorithmic in the responses. So maybe, they come with very sort of very, very low expectations
Yeah,
and
a lot of preconceptions.
preconceptions, but then they do realize, oh, hold on, this actually seems to be far better. And we do have a subset of sort of like Gen Z users, I would say, where they
Yeah.
prefer AI than actually speaking with humans. And we see this not just in customer service, there are some even other applications that I was reading the other day, even receiving mental health support, for example. Some, some younger people prefer speaking with a bot than actually speaking with humans. So this is very interesting
I
and
love it.
surprising. Yeah.
I love it. Now, are the conversations, is there an ability for companies to actually kind of review the conversations and see what's being provided for answers? Or
Yeah, there is. In fact, let me demonstrate to you
yeah, this
so
would be
how
great.
this works.
Sure.
So, in this particular case, let's say I'm a tour agency and I come as a customer, as a visitor to the website, and I'm looking for a hotel, right? So let's say I'm looking for a hotel in Lisbon, within 1 kilometer from the city center. As you can see, I've also misspelled kilometer there. So let's see
Yeah.
if the bot will understand this. And only looking for 5-star places. All right, so let's see what happens. So this is a live demo. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, so things might not go as I expect, but let's see. Oh, there you go. So yeah,
You.
I mean, it didn't sort of like struggle to understand. Kim actually meant 1 kilometer from the city
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and I
and
got it right there.
it gave me a few options. And then, as if I was a human now, right? And actually, I
Yeah.
was in Lisbon a few days back. One of my questions was, all right, so I found a hotel that is interesting. When is the checkout time, right? So maybe I want to ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
Um, so I'm going to ask for Avenida Hotel. Where's the checkout time? And in fact, I'm a person that really likes going to the gym, right? So does it have a
Yeah.
fitness center? So this is like, a super personalized kind of like concierge level of experience,
Yeah.
right? So there's the answer.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
checkout time is at 12. Yes, there is a fitness center. And enjoy your
Have a great
stay.
workout. So it's got a little personality there. That's great. I love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And now if, going back to the question as well that you asked me. So if I were to go back to the inbox here, I can see all the responses here from the bot. So I can see all
Okay,
the
got it.
responses.
Yeah.
And what I can do, I can, in fact, assign the conversation to me as a human agent and take over the conversation.
Oh, cool.
So if we were to go back to the bot and the settings that we put, so we created sort of like an escalate behavior, right? So escalate conversations that require human assistance. So let's see what this means, right? So let's go back to test this functionality. So let's say, I'm very frustrated and angry. Is there someone to talk to? Let's see. Again, this is a live demo. I'm not sure what's going to
Yeah.
happen. I don't think. Oh, okay. So it says, "I'm sorry you're feeling frustrated and angry." So what is done now? It requests for additional information. So if we have connected the Algomo to our app, it would already have this information, so it's not going to request. But in this
Right.
instance, we have not connected, so it has to kind of like, it needs to know who we are, so we can respond back.
Sure.
And in this case, as you can see, the AI marked this conversation as urgent.
Yeah.
The customer is frustrated and angry, so it gives emotional support.
Wow.
So it gives the reason basically.
Yeah.
And what I can do, I can assign this conversation to me now, and I can respond. So I can say, "Hi, this is Dimitrios from the Algomo team. How can I help?"
Yeah.
And now if we go back to the our test case here, you can see now that I've intervened and I've asked this question,
There you
right?
go.
And
Okay.
and I could have
Perfect.
my avatar here, and it can become, we can adjust the colors. We can do this more tailored to our brand.
So let me ask, and I'm not sure if this functionality exists, but so would it be possible to actually book the reservation right from the chat? Is that on the horizon?
That's on the horizon potential, yes. So being able to book reservations, being able, if you're buying from an online store, to change your delivery address or maybe even
Hmm.
buy a product. So we want to create, not just pulling information, but also pushing information to all these tools and APIs. And then this effectively becomes your own personal sort of like, customer service assistant that can do everything like a human would do for
So
for
so
tasks
if I
that are
get
not very complex. Hmm.
yeah, so you've brought the chatbot to the point where it's much more friendly and really interacting with human information. You've got it to the point where it's actually able to provide some relevant details from data sources. And really, the last step is being able to just push the data back to those data sources.
Yeah, precisely.
That's really exciting. I mean, I think even where it's at right now is phenomenal. And clearly there are just a ton of companies that are on the Shopify platform. You may never need to go beyond that, but I mean, I think that the value that you're providing there, just in terms of being able to provide order updates and tracking information and details on real live order details in history. That's huge. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest things for e-commerce companies in terms of keeping their customers happy. Have you done any kinds of surveys or any types of you know uh, gathered statistics on how customers are seeing results with the chat technology you're using?
Yeah. So first of all, something that the customers of our customers can do is they can rate the responses of the AI, so they can do thumbs up, thumbs down,
Okay.
right? But a metric that we find is very good to evaluate, the AI is whenever customers decide to escalate a conversation to a human, right? Because if I have a question, if I have something that needs to be done, and I don't escalate to a human, but the AI has responded to me, this means that there was no basically the response was satisfactory, right? So there was no reason for me to escalate to anybody else. It's like speaking to the manager
Sure.
in a way. So I don't need to speak to the manager. The AI agent responded to me, and I'm perfectly happy. So I'm not escalating. And we see that up to 85 for certain cases, up to 85% of the conversations, they're not escalated, and customers are happy with the responses that they that
Wow,
they
that's
get from the
huge.
AI.
Yeah, very nice. Um, are there other, in terms of the back end that we're looking at here? So obviously you have a lot of different areas we're looking at. Are there other details that you want to highlight that you think would be important when a company is getting up and running? I mean, it seems very, very organized, very well thought out, and very streamlined in terms of the whole interface.
Yeah, I mean, something I can show here is that this widget can be adjusted in many different ways. So we can customize if we want to have a pop-up message, for example. Maybe you're an online shop, like you're selling stuff and you want to have a pop-up message encourage people to interact with your bot. We can enable sort of like contact details. We can change the colors, we can change the avatars, we can display agent avatars, for example. We can add analytics on top of it because that's very important for conversions, right? How do you track conversions? How do you know that Algomo works for your website? And one way to do that is by connecting things like Google Tag Manager, for example, Google Analytics, and so on. We also have a number of integrations, so we can integrate with email. So email integration means that not only you're going to receive a notification, but you can also respond from an email. And then your customers will also receive an email when you respond back to them. So in a way, you don't even need to use the Algomo dashboard to respond. Everything can be done email over email. You can also connect with Slack, CRMs like HubSpot, with Zapier as well, where you can do any integration that you want. And
That's a
you
big
can see
one.
here.
Having that Zapier integration really opens it up to any possibility.
Absolutely, yeah. And already you can connect to any CRM as well. It's not just HubSpot, which there is some, a workaround that we have to do that.
Sure.
And then again, you can see here Shopify and WordPress. You can already integrate with Shopify and WordPress. What we're working on is one-click solutions. So over the next few days, we're going to be listing on Shopify marketplace, where it's just going to be a more straightforward process to install, but still possible to use Shopify. So these are the main features, I would say. There are a few use cases I can go through. An e-commerce sort of like example, perhaps, if we have time.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the use cases are interesting because obviously it reaches across a lot of industries, but being able to see the best use cases for the solution would be helpful.
yeah, absolutely. So this is an example of a health store, for example. And as I mentioned before, we can do order status, we can do product search, and so on. In this particular case, maybe I want to search, do you have any products to help me sleep? Because again, customers look for solutions to their problems, right? They don't necessarily look for some specific product. Or at least this is how it was traditionally, right? You would go to a physical store, you will speak to an assistant, and you will get personalized advice based on the problems that you would describe.
Sure.
So in this case, we get 3 recommendations. We also get the pictures. So we see pictures are quite important. We can click on any of these, so we can buy directly from the link. And something else I can do here as well, right? I can put more criteria, very similar to back to the hotels examples, right, in Lisbon that we were doing. Maybe I can say here, okay, but do you have any products under £10? And in this case, it filtered all the other products and it just gives me one product only to choose from, right? So it understood the context. And that's something I can say, yeah, great, that was helpful response. And then, yeah, I can, from now on, I can do more things. I can go order, then I can check the status of my order, or I can ask more information for some other products.
Very good. Now, I also noticed that you had highlighted the fact that some fintech companies are actually focused on the solution. How would it fit in that application?
Yeah, so one of our sort of like expertise, I would say, is in terms of hallucinations. So in the context of AI, hallucination, in simple words, is when the AI makes up stuff that don't exist, right? And
Got
this is
it.
an area through our partnership with some of the some of the world leading universities in doing machine learning here in the UK, like University of Edinburgh, for example, being one example. We are tackling this problem in fact, with research that is funded by the UK government and the European Union's Horizon grants. And for financial services, having this sort of extra layer of security in terms of hallucinations is super important for them. Because if I'm a financial institution, if I'm a bank, the last thing I want to happen is I give the wrong information out to the customer, right? Or the customer asks me, for example, something related to my current account or my savings account, and the response of the bot is, completely unrelated, sometimes even harmful. And then being, having all this sort of compliance and regulatory sort of rules and laws is super important to get everything out with extra sort of layers of checks. And this is where we tackle this problem with hallucinations. And we can help here financial institutions. We even have some cases in the Web3 sort of space, which again is kind of similar, where people could be asking, things related to their account, could be asking things like, how much money do I have in all my accounts as an aggregate, for example? How much money do I have in my savings account? How do I set up a standing order? How do I make a payment? So again, these are very popular questions that everyday customer service agents they tackle, and many of these institutions see the similar problems to other industries. Right? So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're really head on tackling a big challenge, and you've got a very unique solution there. Now, I also noticed, obviously, the e-commerce is a natural. You had indicated, and travel makes a lot of sense, as you've shown us. You had indicated some software as a service companies are using the solution as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first example, in fact, I've given for Nina Care, where they're connecting, their marketplace connecting au pairs, babysitters, and parents. They're a Series A, startup. They do that, and we have many similar sort of companies at this kind of sort of industries where they offer maybe some software, or they offer some solution where there is a subscription model that they have. And then many of their customers, they're going to need things like, onboarding help, for example, right? Or they're going to need help how to use the product. And these are very sort of similar problems across the board, where you have a lot of frequently asked questions. But then again, there could be so much information, there could be so much documentation, where it can become very complicated for someone to just go through all this documentation, right? So the bot would give you then very sort of clear guidelines. 1, 2, 3. These are the steps that you need to do to solve this problem. These are the steps that you need to do to onboard to our product.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And then, as we're, wrapping up a little bit, can you tell me, in terms of integration with existing systems, are there certain data requirements, or is it really just a matter of plugging into to an API and taking it from there?
So at the moment, in terms of data, you can connect your own website. Super easy to do that. Don't need any technical knowledge. You can upload documents manually. Again, super easy to do that. You can connect your Notion if you have one, where again, you don't need any technical knowledge to do this. There are maybe a little bit some other use cases where someone might have a very large document that is in CSV format with questions and answers. In that case, probably you would need some help from us to do this integration manually. So whatever is not on the dashboard, there might be a solution. Just our team would probably need to help.
Okay. And in terms of integrated, can a company use multiple data sources, or do they need to just pick one?
Yeah, they can use multiple data sources, pick and choose, and then they can connect chatbots to different data sources.
Got it. Got it. So for anyone that's out there that's saying, sounds interesting, how would they, in terms of getting up and running, first off, are there different pricing options, or how would they choose the right plan to meet their needs?
Yeah, well, anybody can. I would encourage anyone to give it a go. You don't need to try it. You don't even need to put your card details. So you can sign up. You can you can see how it works for your website or for your data. And you can set it up within, I would say, even 5 minutes in some cases. After that, if you start using it and you want to install it on your website and start serving customers, we have our lowest plan starts from $9 per month,
Okay.
and then it can go up to $499, or even more for some of the biggest enterprises that we have. And this depends purely on the number of AI conversations.
Got it.
Um, if you want to use it as a sort of like live chat with human sort of like support, you can even use this for free, regardless of the number of conversations that you have. So the only thing that we charge for is the AI responses.
Okay, all right. So it's really, and I saw you had the starter, the pro, and the scale plan as starting points for different companies. And we'll leave in the show notes. We'll leave a link for anyone that would like to get started, either with that free trial or with a paid subscription. But so really figuring out the usage, and obviously that can happen along the way as they start to implement the and solution. Um, any final thoughts in terms of the future of where AI and your segment of the market is heading? What do you say?
I think the future is super exciting. There's lots of players in the market. I do see some consolidation happening, um, due to this fact. And I would encourage people not to be, too scared about AI. I think AI can be very powerful. And, through sort of like industrial revolution to current times, I think technology, if anything, generated more jobs than actually, taking jobs from people. And it can make our future, I think, more creative. And this is exactly where, we come in to make your future more creative, not boring.
Well, that's great, and I have to be honest. I really found this very enlightening. It's an exciting solution, and hopefully, a lot of our listeners will take you up on that free trial and see if Algomo is a good fit for their organization. Um, Coming up on our next episode, we have Andy Carusa. He's the marketing lead over at a company, Nacho Nacho. They're a B2B software as a service marketplace based out of the US here. And they help businesses discover, manage, and save money on software subscriptions. So that'll be our next episode. And we really appreciate your time today. And thank you for being on the Software Spotlight.
Thank you very much, Michael. Pleasure to be here.